Today we're going to talk about event lines. We're going to talk about the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls, and where they are placed on a timeline. And if you're interested in understanding a little bit about event lines, stick around. In Revelation, we have lists of events that are going to take place. We have a list of seal events, we have a list of trumpet events, and we have a list of bowl events. And each of these groups of seals or trumpets or bowls is just a list of events that are going to take place on a timeline. They don't actually move a storyline forward, but what they do is they tell us certain markers, things that are going to happen along the way. And that's really all these events are, is they're just markers on a timeline. I've done some videos on this in the past, but I want to talk about these events, the seal, trumpets, and bowls, in terms of an event line. So the first event line we're going to look at is seals. We know that there are 7 seals on the scroll. When Christ opens a seal, something happens. Those are events. They're going to take place in the order that they're mentioned, with seal number 1 opening first, and seal number 7, the event associated with that, taking place toward the end. The same thing is true with the 7 trumpets. The first trumpet will be blown, and the event that goes with that is going to take place first, and the very last trumpet that's blown, the 7th trumpet, the event that's associated with that will take place at the end of the 7 trumpets. So they all run in sequence 1 through 7. They're each their own event line, though. They're their own list of events that are going to take place. And we have to look at other places in the book of Revelation or other places in Scripture to let us know where to place that event on a timeline. The 6th seal is actually the easiest seal to place on an event line. Well, 6th and 7th, because the 7th one is going to come directly after the 6th seal. The 6th seal is the one where the sun goes dark, the moon turns to blood. People on earth see Christ and the Lamb. They see the Lamb and the Father in heaven, and they want to go into the caves and hide from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath has come. The 6th seal, according to what we read in Matthew, is after the abomination of desolation. There'll be this time of great trouble for the Jews and so on. And then it says after the tribulation of those days, that is, after this time of tribulation, the sun will go dark, the moon will turn to blood, the stars will fall from the sky, and then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. So again, we see the sun and the moon and the stars and Jesus appearing in heaven. That takes place sometime after the event we call the abomination of desolation, which is the time when the Antichrist, the beast, is going to go into the temple and say that he's God. Just to define our terms here, the abomination of desolation is when the Antichrist goes into the temple and proclaims that he is God. Okay, he says that he's God. Okay, I realize that I just throw out those words and I assume most people know what I'm talking about. A rapture just means to be caught up. It's not actually a word you find in the Bible. It comes from a Latin word, but the actual Greek word harpazo is translated as caught up, and that's something we see in Revelation 12, that the child is caught up to God and to his throne. And believers are going to be caught up. Just like Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind, people will be caught up into heaven. Okay, so just defining a few terms here. And the 7 seals are just a list of events. Each event is associated with a seal. The trumpet's the same way. Every time an angel blows the trumpet, there's a certain event that takes place. And they all will take place in the order that they appear, but not necessarily chronologically one right after the other. There's other things that will take place in between. So we have a seal event line. The sixth seal is the easiest one to know when it's going to take place because there's a very good confirmation from the book of Matthew, Matthew 24. After the abomination, the sun will go dark, the moon will turn to blood. And we know that all that is going to take place before the coming of the Son of Man, okay, before the second coming. So the sixth seal and then the seventh seal, which is silence in heaven, are going to take place sometime, again, after the beast, the Antichrist, goes into the temple and proclaims that he's God. Then the sun will go dark. Sometime after the tribulation of those days, the sun will go dark, the moon will turn to blood, and so on. There'll be the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Then there'll be the seventh seal, which is silence in heaven. Silence precedes judgment. This is coming on a day that nobody knows. Nobody knows when that sixth seal is going to take place. Nobody knows. Okay, that's a day and hour nobody knows. That also is the beginning of the millennial kingdom. That's when the millennium actually begins. The day of the Lord, the great day, the 1,000-year great day of the Lord will begin right there. Okay, so the sixth and seventh seal, very easy to understand where those go. I talked about in a video not too long ago how on the same day that we're caught up into heaven and we appear before God's throne as kings and priests, seals 1 through 4 will take place. Those are the horsemen of the apocalypse. They all will come out on that same day. That just leaves us now with the fifth seal. Where does the fifth seal go? Revelation 12 tells us about how there are martyrs in heaven before Satan is cast out. Okay, Satan is going to be cast out over here sometime. That's when Satan is going to be thrown to the earth at the end of this war in heaven. So sometime before that, there's already martyrs that are showing up in heaven. These are not martyrs of the beast. And we know that because the beast hasn't even come on the scene yet. It's not until this point in time that the beast will begin his 42-month reign and behead believers. But yet there's a whole bunch of believers in heaven who've already been martyred. And because Revelation is a prophecy about the end times, we're not talking about martyrs from previous generations. We're talking about people who will be martyred during the last days. So the martyrs of, basically, it's the harlot, okay? Because remember, the harlot is going to be destroyed right here. So just by process of elimination and by things that we know, the fifth seal will happen over here. This is the death of the martyrs. This is the bloodbath of martyrs. All right. So we're going to do a whole video on just the fifth seal martyrs. All right. So there's trumpets 1 through 7. We know that the seventh trumpet is going to be at the very end when the scriptures tell us in Revelation 11, thy wrath came, as in past tense, and the time for people to be resurrected and people to be, the prophets and saints to be rewarded and so on. Okay, so there's going to be a big resurrection and a reward for the people who've been martyred by the beast, who've been beheaded. And also, this is going to be when the kingdom is finally set up after the wrath of God. That's going to happen right here. The seventh trumpet is at the very, very end. It's at the very end. Even though we read it in Revelation 11, it doesn't happen right after the two witnesses ascend. The seventh trumpet is after the wrath of God has come. And I'll show you where the wrath of God is when we talk about the bowls here in just a second. So the seventh trumpet is when the kingdom is set up. This actually will be over the Feast of Tabernacles. And that's one of the reasons why Tabernacles is going to be celebrated every year during the millennium. It's sort of Independence Day. It's the day when the official reign of Christ begins. All right, so trumpets 1 through 4 take place on the same day that we're raptured as well. And I showed you how that works in another video that I'll leave a link to that video. Trumpets 1 through 4 on an event line take place on the same day. So there's all these things that are going to be taking place on the same day that we're raptured. Okay. Seals 1 through 4 and trumpets 1 through 4. The events associated with the first 4 trumpets. These are cataclysms that are going to come on the earth. So where do the 5th and 6th trumpets go? Okay, the 5th and 6th trumpets are actually pretty easy to understand as well. The 5th trumpet, that's when the pit is opened and Apollyon and those fallen angels are going to come out of the pit. Apollyon is the entity that is going to indwell the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to have the spirit of Apollyon. Satan does not indwell the Antichrist. A lot of people say that, and people who should know better say that. But nowhere does the scripture tell us that the dragon is going to go inside of the Antichrist. Rather, Revelation 13 tells us that the dragon gives his power, his throne, and his authority to the beast. And it's the beast who ascends from the bottomless pit who kills the 2 witnesses. The 5th trumpet actually has to sound before the abomination of desolation, before the beast begins to reign, before the Antichrist begins his 42-month reign. So the 5th trumpet has to go over here. The 6th trumpet lasts an hour. It's on an hour, day, month, and year that God has already predetermined. This word hour can actually be followed through the whole book of Revelation. And there are 2 events that are associated with the word hour. One of them is what happens on this day right here. And the other hour is the hour when Jesus comes like a thief in the night to take this last group of believers, people who've come to Christ and have managed to endure during the reign of the beast. Jesus will come and get them just before the wrath of God is poured out over here. So that's one place where the word hour is used. The second place where the word hour is used is right here on this day. That's when the 6th trumpet is blown. I'm going to leave a link to a video where I talk about the hour. Right? A lot of people want to just say this is a metaphorical hour or symbolic hour. It can actually mean any length of time at all. But time in Revelation is very specific. It actually means exactly what it says. It's not metaphorical. It's not symbolic. Time is calculated precisely, and every word that has to do with time actually means literally that period of time. And in that video that I'm linking to about time in Revelation and also about that hour, especially the hour of trial that's going to come on the whole world, the hour when 1/3 of the earth's population is destroyed, that's right here, 6th trumpet. So on an event timeline, trumpets 1 through 4, the cosmic cataclysms that happen, the volcanoes and so on, all the things that we read about in Revelation 8, the first 4 of them happen right here. The 5th one, where the pit is opened and Apollyon and his nefarious buddies come out, and it's Apollyon who is going to indwell the beast. Revelation 17 talks about that, gives us the details for that. The 5th trumpet has to happen before the beast begins to reign. The 6th trumpet is on the same day as the abomination of desolation, same day. Okay, so I just want to make a little point here. If you're in Israel, the abomination of desolation will be something that you see. The rest of the world will know because 1/3 of the world has just been wiped out in 1 hour. This is when World War III will end, and it will end in a nuclear conflagration. It's going to be very bad. Okay, this is the end of World War III. People will know in Israel, because of the beast, the Antichrist will go, the resurrected 7th king, now become 8th king, will go into the temple to be worshiped. And people in other parts of the world will know because all of a sudden there's this huge nuclear thing that happens where a third of the Earth's population is destroyed. And I've talked about this before in the past as well. Everybody's going to know this date and remember it. And people who are aware will know that the second coming of Christ is going to happen 1,260 days later. They can start counting the days. And Christ's second coming will be right here. 1,260 days after World War III basically ends. World War III will end and the reign of the beast will begin. The bowl list is in Revelation 16. So bowls 1 through 7 are going to happen right here after the 6th and 7th seal, after that final group of believers is already in heaven, those who are alive and survive until the coming of the Lord. It's a technical term, the parousia, the appearing of Christ as king. The bowls 1 through 7 will happen right here. And this is where the second coming is. Okay, this is Armageddon right here. Okay, that's Armageddon. And there are feast days associated with these things as well. This is the Day of Atonement. And this up here is Tabernacles, when Christ sets up the kingdom. And also, I believe it's Tabernacles, the 8th day of Tabernacles, when we're raptured. So these are the 3 event lines that I wanted to talk to you about today. We have the 7-sealed scroll. As Christ opens a seal, an event takes place. The first 4 seals are opened right here. Those riders on the horses do their thing. The 5th seal has to happen before Satan is cast out of heaven. The 5th seal is 10 days of martyrdom. The 6th seal is going to happen after the abomination of desolation, but before the second coming, on a day and hour nobody knows. That is actually when the day that nobody knows is the day of the Lord. It's the wrath that takes place just before the official reign of Christ, but it actually begins the millennium. It's the great day. And then trumpets 1 through 4, the events associated with that happen on the same day we're raptured. 5th trumpet has to take place before the 6th trumpet. It has to take place before the abomination of desolation, because it's the Apollyon, the beast who ascends from the bottomless pit, who will kill the 2 witnesses and then basically indwell, killed and resurrected 7th king, now 8th king, who will begin a 42-month rule right here at the 6th trumpet. This is when the harlot is destroyed. Mystery Babylon is destroyed the first time, and it won't be until Christ returns that whatever is remaining of Mystery Babylon will be destroyed right here. The 7th trumpet is at the very end after God's wrath has come. This right here is the wrath of God. It's associated with the bowls, and it's on the beast kingdom, and anybody who has taken the mark or associated themselves with the beast. It's not on the world in general, because the world in general is not going to be judged until the great white throne judgment. That's after the millennium. The bowl event line is actually pretty simple. It comes after the 7th seal of silence in heaven. Silence precedes judgment. This is when the wrath of God will be poured out on the beast kingdom, anybody associated with the beast. This is a judgment on fallen entities. Okay, this is the judgment of the watchers, the demons, fallen angels. That's why they're all on earth at this time. God is going to consolidate them on earth and judge them and condemn them and cast them into the lake of fire right there. We have 3 event lines here. We can see how they coincide with one another, and everybody's got an event line. The 2 witnesses have one, the 24 elders have one, the 5th seal martyrs have one, Jesus has one. There's an event line for like every character, and every seal, every trumpet, every bowl. There's an event line for the dragon. There's one for the fallen angels. Everybody has an event line because they all have their own story. And as we place them on a timeline, then we can see how all of these events mesh together on the same day, things that happen on the same day or at the same time. All of that's in the spreadsheet. Okay, and also if you want a simplified version of all of this, go to Crowded Heaven website. The link for that is also in the description box with just a one-page, very simple timeline so you can see how these things are going to play out as well. Leave a comment in the comment section. We'll see you on another video. Till then, have a blessed day.